Welcome back to another episode of CHP Sports. I forgot what show I was doing with Kenny and Anthony. I am Anthony D'Orazio, and my co-host is Kenny Barber. Kenny, how you doing today?
Good, good. A little tired from the weekend, but we're here. We're
There
ready
you
to
go.
roll.
We are here. You had
We're
a whole
here.
bunch of stuff going on, taking care of children and doing other stuff.
Yeah,
I had a 1-year-old birthday party I attended, which was fun.
fun.
And that
But
was
I
good
managed to
stuff.
watch football still, college and professional, so that was good.
It's amazing how you still managed to fit it in there.
Still fitted in. And I saw some baseball, too. So,
There you go.
um,
There you go. So this week was a really good football weekend. I thought there were some great games on. So let's start with, I guess, NCAA men's football. And I guess to me, the game of the weekend was probably Bama against Florida, which was way better of a game than I was expecting and that I think either of us predicted. It came down to the sort of last couple of possessions, and I think it was 31-29 was the final score where Alabama comes out
yeah,
in front. But yeah, I was really impressed. I thought Florida looked really good. I think their number 6, the running back, number 6, I forget his name, was phenomenal. I thought he was great. And they were able to move the ball. Their defense did enough. Bama's offense did not look particularly sharp, I didn't think. And yeah, super impressive show. I know it's like there's no moral wins in football, I guess, but this was a moral win, I think. I think it showed that Alabama is beatable. It's going to take a really good team, and it's going to take, probably a slightly off day from Bama. But I think Florida kind of showed some of a blueprint on how you can do it. Did you get a chance to watch any of it?
so I didn't see that game. That was right to, I think it was during the one party I was at, but I saw highlights, and it's rare that to me, it's rare that an elite team goes through the season without one of these type of games, right? Even LSU a couple years back, as dominant as they were, I believe they had a tight game with Auburn the one week, who was just like pretty good that year. Right? They weren't like exceptional, um, and that's not to take anything away from Florida, right? They're a good team. Uh, you always have to remember, right? They have lots of really high recruits on that team as well, and sometimes the better team right on paper just doesn't play up to their potential, and maybe the team they're playing is playing above their perceived potential, right? And you still have a new quarterback at Bama, although he looked amazing the week I saw him a couple of weeks ago. He's still a new player in the system, and I'm sure Bama graduates or gets 10 guys drafted every year in the first 2 rounds. So they always say they just reload, but still it's new people playing in that situation against good teams. Like it's an SEC team. I'm not shocked by it, right? I'm not surprised at all. I do think though that not a lot of people were expecting to be that close, but heck, what's wrong with a good game in the SEC with some two powerhouses, right? You want to see that. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see 65-7. Like nobody wants to see that after the first half. It's boring, right? So it was cool to see a good score there in the SEC. Nothing
Yeah,
wrong with a little competition.
yeah, I would agree with that. It was really good, and it was good football more than anything else. It was well executed. Everyone was doing their jobs. I think that game was on at the same time as the Ohio State game against Tulsa, and obviously I'm a Ohio State fan, so that was the game I was planning on watching, but I ended up watching way more of the Bama Florida game because it was a better game. Like Ohio State has a lot of growing pains to get through. I think that was obvious in this game. Our defense is very much a work in progress, and our offense isn't as good as it I think will be by the end of the season. But so yeah, that was the Bama Florida game was really good. I agree that the teams that typically win it all often do have one game where it's close against a team that maybe you don't expect them to be close with. And I think that's not, I don't think it's unexpected, especially when you're dealing with athletes that are also have to go to class, even,
Yeah.
however many classes they may be taking or not taking, they still have classes to take. Um, and so they basically have two full-time jobs, right? They have the full-time job of being an athlete and a full-time job of being a student. to whatever degree they are required to be a student. And obviously Florida is a really good team, and it was in the swamp, right? So if you're Bama, you're on the road in a hostile environment. You're going to get
had to travel. Yeah,
you're going to get everyone's best shot, as we know, because you're Bama.
Yeah.
And and still with that said, it was a great game, and I was happy to see it. Who else impressed you this weekend, or what other games were you intrigued by?
So I watched two main games on the weekend. Earlier, the 12 o'clock game I was able to watch. I ended up watching kind of random, but Virginia Tech versus West Virginia, right? And it's always usually a good rivalry game anyway. And it brought something to light that drives me insane, right? And it's coaches not kicking field goals. Earlier on in the game, going for it on a 4th and goal from the 4 or something like that. And Virginia Tech was favored. They're ranked 2-0, number 15 in the country. They got down pretty big early. And at the end of the first half, they were at the goal line, basically. There were some crazy not crazy plays, but, they got bumped back a little bit. And I think it was like 20 – I want to say it was maybe 21-7 or something like that, or 27-7. And they could have kicked a field goal, right? So you go in the half. Instead, they go for it on 4th down. They don't get it, right? Long story short, they do it again in the second half. They go for it again on 4th down. They don't score. So here they are driving with a couple of minutes left, 2 minutes left probably. And guess what? They're losing 27-21. So instead of them kicking 2 little field goals, I'm talking like 20-yard field goals.
Right.
And being tied, right? And being tied now with 2 minutes left and driving, they get down to the goal line again, right? They get 4 chances to score to win the game. When in sense, if they had just kicked the field goals before, all you have to do is kick a chip shot and you win the ball game. And guess what? They get stopped on 4th down and they lost. And it's a trend I see a lot more. I feel like now it's getting too cute with going for 2 and going for the touchdown and going. The next thing you know, you could have had 6-7 more points and then you lose. Because you didn't do it. So that was it was a great game, but I was like, man, Virginia Tech should have won. And they didn't. I don't know what the coach is thinking there, but I don't know. So and they were down, but I think the coach panicked a little bit. Like, hey, it's, first half's almost over and we're down. I forget what the difference was, but it was a couple touchdowns, but it was
24-7 at halftime.
At half. And it could have been 24-10. And West Virginia only kicked 1 field goal in the second half. That was it. And, Virginia Tech came all the way back. So that was pretty crazy to me, but a good game. And I watched the Penn State Auburn game, and Penn State was impressive. I thought they played well.
Penn State was the other team I was going to mention. I thought they played really well. They looked really impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
they were at home in a whiteout.
Yeah,
so.
Whiteout, but a tough team. Auburn, SEC team, they're always good. They're always going to play tough. They're no slouch or nobody to look past. And I think that was a big win for Penn State. I don't think they've beaten an SEC team since the early 2000s, I think I saw.
Maybe.
Yeah, I forget what they said during the broadcast, but it was a good game and a big win for the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is a lot better this year than people may think they are. SEC always gets all the attention.
Yeah.
But so far, Penn State, Iowa, right? Michigan's undefeated. I know that's a bad term to say around those Ohio State fans, but yeah, I mean, they're looking and they're beating some good teams, right? They're not just beating chumps right now. They're beating good wins. I think Penn State had a really big win there for the Big Ten, right? It's a big win for the Big Ten to beat a good SEC team. So very interesting how that'll shake out. I thought Clemson was a dud again this week. They won 14-6 or something. It was
14-8 apparently.
Yeah, very strange. Again against Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech they had to stop them on 4th and goal with no time left at the end of the game. Georgia Tech could have won the ball game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they stuffed them on the goal line. So strange. I mean, again, Clemson's a team that lost 27 draft picks in the first round. So, you're replacing a lot of stuff there. It's not as easy as Alabama makes it look.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. Yeah, no, I would say that. No, I didn't get to watch too much, but other teams I saw, the Penn State game was really impressive. So we'll see. I know Clemson fell like I think one or two spots in the rankings. Ohio State, not that the rankings mean anything right now, but Ohio State fell a spot. So yeah, I think Georgia stayed. Georgia beat who they were supposed to beat. I forget who's third. Is Oregon third? I think
Oregon jumped up. Yeah.
Oregon's fourth apparently. Who's third?
Oh, I thought they were third.
They might have jumped to third. I don't know if the rankings I'm looking at like ESPN scores from the weekend, so I think it might be the rankings going into the weekend. So I think they might have jumped up to third. Iowa beat Kent State, so yeah. I mean, I think of the main games, those are the ones that looked most impressive.
Hey, it's Oregon and Oklahoma, then Iowa.
Okay, yeah, Oklahoma. There's also Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma kind of had an win again, and was that UCLA got upset as well.
Oh, did they?
They dropped down to 24, so they weren't supposed to lose that game.
Did you see that interception that dude made in the Oklahoma game?
Did I see it? Did he catch it with one hand?
Yeah, it was one-handed craziness.
Yeah. Unreal. That was like the Odell Beckham catch that he had with the Giants. Very similar. Very insane.
Yeah, I showed my wife the catch because I saw it, and I was like, I called her over. And I love watching sports with her because her reactions are so genuine because she doesn't always know all the she follows sports enough to know like what the basic premise is and like what's supposed to happen in football and basketball and whatnot. But she doesn't necessarily know all the terms, and her reactions are much more, I feel like, genuine than like a jaded sports fan. Like I think some of us become.
She has no skin in the game, right? She just
exactly. She doesn't get like blinded by what jersey color they have on.
Yeah.
So she was like taken aback by how incredible it was. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was an impressive effort.
Yeah. NFL, lots of good NFL games. I think we're learning more about who the teams are, where each team is. Well, let's start with the Browns. We can start with the Browns and the Broncos since those are our teams. Browns beat the Texans 31-21. I would say an okay win. Right? We didn't win by as much as I expected. We did what we typically do, which is we kind of throw a bit more in the first half, and then we run it down people's throats in the second half, which is what we're better at. But we tend to not do it as much in the first half, I think, to kind of loosen up the defense because we are a very balanced team.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, our defense needs work. I think our offense looks fine. Our defense looks like their quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, got injured. That poor guy can never, whenever he gets an opportunity, something goes wrong. Every single time.
Yep.
I feel bad for the guy. And so they've got like a captain statue playing quarterback for them. I forget his name, Mills, or Mins. I think it's Mills.
Yeah.
And he was fine, but he's like a rookie quarterback that's never played in a game before, and he just marched down the field like twice on our defense. It's like what are we doing? So that was frustrating. And but otherwise,
especially too, they have a front four that's supposed to be tops in the league.
Yeah, we just couldn't get to the quarterback. Now to be fair, it didn't seem like we were blitzing at all. Like when we finally blitzed, we got a sack late in the game. That was like our first. I believe that was our first sack of the game. It was I guess he's technically a second year player, Grant Delpit, but he lost all of you last year because of the Achilles injury. So effectively like a rookie. Grant Delpit, he got a nice sack. Chubb and Kareem Hunt were great, as they always are. Baker I thought was real sharp. He threw one interception, but that interception was also, I think, the receiver's fault because the receiver just stopped on the route instead of like going up and like he literally stops, puts his hands down, and watches the ball go right in front of him, right into the defender's hands. Like if he jumps up and like at the very least he defends it from the defender. So I didn't put that on Baker. We lost Odell's still out. Landry. which is, I think, a
Yeah,
huge
Landry, I saw
loss.
that.
That's bigger than losing Odell. Like Odell being out, I don't think we really noticed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Landry, him and Baker have such a connection that it'll be interesting to see how long he's out. I've heard sprained MCL. I think that's a couple of weeks maybe. So hopefully it's nothing more serious and he's able to come back pretty soon. But that's a bummer. But yeah, that was what I thought. I think the Texans were dropping like flies in that game. I don't know what was going on with them. It seemed like they were like having a guy go out injured every other play. So if you're a Texans fan, I don't know who you're fielding next week. You don't have a quarterback presumably, especially because it's a short week because they play on Thursday night against I want to say maybe the Bills. It's Thursday night game.
Which is another tough matchup.
Texans, whatever. I don't think they'll be very good. They'll probably win like 3 to 5 games this year.
Yeah,
but I think we got that we should have gotten.
I don't expect to see the Browns like per se blowing teams out because they do run the ball a lot, right? It's not like an offense that you can score in 2 minutes, right? They're very deliberate. They run the ball. They grind you down, And I think it's a formula that wins games in the winter, right? When it's cold, when it's in the playoffs. I think it's good. Now it doesn't look flashy, right? But it's going to work well, I think, in the future. So, I think it's I call it a professional win. You won a game in the professional football league. A win is a win. Take it. It didn't, doesn't matter what the score is. They won by 10. Yeah, Texans are beat up, and maybe you think they should have won 40-10, right? But it just didn't work out that way. You always got to remember there's professionals playing on the other side too.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to sometimes people have better weeks than others, but I don't see especially now without Landry, I don't see them as like a quick strike, score in a minute and a half type offense. So 31 points is good. Maybe their defense has some things to work out, but a good win is a win. A win is a win. Yeah. Denver, looking good. I'm very impressed with them, but they have just not beat anyone that I consider a true contender yet. So we'll see when they play a better team. They beat Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Cool. And they only gave up 6 points. Really, the opening kickoff was run back for a touchdown. I don't really count that. And then Jacksonville scored 6 points the rest of the game. Teddy Bridgewater looks great. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. I know he has a great leadership ability, and I feel like that's what maybe they needed. I do think Locke probably has an elite arm, but maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's not the elite leader they needed. But he also had no weapons last year because everyone's hurt. So, but Teddy looks great. He looks like a good fit. Their defense looks great. But again, we've played the Giants and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I don't know if the defense looks great, but so we'll see. But I was happy they won. They're 2-0. The division looks really tough. Right? You got the Chargers, who lost a tight game to Dallas, and the Raiders are 2-0 now. Yeah, and Kansas City lost. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I see. There were some tight games. I think the Chargers game I watched part of, or I was kind of watching in the background as I was working, and it seemed like the Chargers should have won it. Didn't they have 2 touchdowns called back because of penalties or something?
Yeah, a couple bad penalties, and just one of them tight games where, because of those penalties, it was kind of tighter than maybe it should have been, and then Dallas came out on top. But credit to Dallas for hanging in there and winning. It was they could have easily lost. A win is a win, like I said. But the Tennessee game too, that was
Tennessee
surprise.
Game.
They went in Seattle and beat them in overtime. So.
Yeah, that was surprising. I think that match what we expected last week. If you go back and watch our thoughts last week, at least I remember I was very torn on that game because I remember I went back and forth. I ended up picking Seattle only because they were home. And I was like, well, if they were in Tennessee, I would pick Tennessee for sure. And it was exactly what we expected. They got Henry rolling on the ground, and I didn't watch. I watched the very end because we had a different game here in Columbus. So they didn't show it here, but I watched the end because they switched over that game towards the end, and if you get Henry rolling, all of a sudden that sort of balance in that offense is there, right? And you become a dual threat. You don't know if you're gonna run, you don't know if you're gonna pass, their quarterback looks a lot better when that's the case, as we talked about last week. I don't know how the one throw was it. Was that the? Yeah, I think that was the game where was it Julio Jones or someone had a great touch, what was originally called a touchdown catch, and it got overturned. I don't know how it got overturned because his foot clearly looked in.
Guess who has him in fantasy football?
You.
Yeah.
How was that not a touchdown? I'm very confused.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably 2 or 3 calls a week I see where I'm like, what are they looking at? Like why review it?
I can see if maybe like they had initially called him out and it got challenged and they were like, well, it's so close, we can't. But at least on the replay I saw, which was on YouTube, granted, and was like not a close-up angle, it was like the original shot from like behind the end zone. But I'm like, you can see there's like his foot, and then there's a clear dark spot, and then there's the white of the end line. Like there's a clear like dark spot between his foot and the end line. I'm like, that's the space. I do not understand. So
yeah, and usually out of those 2 or 3 calls, 1 to 2 affects my fantasy football team. So it's when it's called a touchdown and it's that close, you think they wouldn't overturn it, right? But what are you going to do? But yeah, it was a surprising outcome because you think Seattle at home, they go into overtime and Seattle runs a few plays. Well, actually, Titans had the ball first, I believe. They stopped them. Seattle gets the ball. You're thinking, all they got to do is kick a field goal. This game's over. And they went and a couple of bad plays, and now they got a punt from their own. They almost, first of all, it was a safety, I thought, in the end zone.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, I thought it was safety, too.
I was very confused about that. And now they're kicking from their 1-yard line, and, the guy kicked it 40 yards. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Tennessee
that was a disaster.
The game's like basically over at that point because you got to get 10 or 15 yards to kick a field goal. Like it's almost a done deal. So not how I expected it to play out, but Titans were terrible last week and they put on a good effort this week. So we know they're not pretenders. But then on the flip side, like the Saints, they had Jameis Winston was going to be the MVP this year after last week, and they beat the Green Bay bad, and then they got embarrassed basically by Carolina.
Yeah, that was surprising.
So like a weird flip there. Yeah. I think everybody
is starting to look for real. Like, Carolina looks for real, and also like, what the hell were the Jets doing with Sam Darnold for all the time he was there? Like in literally 2 games, he looked the best he's ever looked.
They're doing the same thing to Zach Wilson now too. Like literally surround them with no one and tell them to win the game. I saw a stat. Zach Wilson had 4 completions and 4 interceptions.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's confidence in your rookie QB there. Jeez.
Yeah, but the Patriots won, beating the Jets. So whatever that means, they beat them well. Eagles. I think I called that one. I think I went with San Fran. I remember you picked in that game. I think you picked the Eagles because of the travel. You said they got to travel, so you're picking the Eagles.
That makes sense.
But the Eagles looked how I thought they would this week because they were playing a pretty good team. I think San Fran's a pretty good team, and the Eagles really only scored 6 points the entire game. They scored late with like 3 minutes left to make it kind of a game. And really. Now Brandon Graham's out for the year now. He tore his Achilles.
Oh, that's
terrible injury for the Eagles. Big part of their defense. So, I think Hurts was 12 for 23 for 190 yards, no touchdowns. He did run well. He had 80 yards rushing, something like that. But, and now he's got way more weapons than what they had last year. So, I don't know. They were going to the Super Bowl last week. But it was like, hold on. They played Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is terrible, as Tampa Bay exposed this week. But, they give up 45. But actually 2 of those were defensive touchdowns too. But, the Giants lost. That was a wild game, Thursday night game against Washington.
Oh, that was. Yeah. I think we did pick Washington in that one.
So the NFC East –
you felt
the NFC East. It turned right into the NFC East within 1 week. they were all like, the three of them were 1-0, and now and Dallas was 0-1, and now they're all 1-1. Or no, the Giants are 0-2, and then three of them are 1-1. So
Pretty much.
it's just
Pretty much.
It turned into it really quick. But we'll see. I mean, I do think Dallas is probably the best team in the division.
Probably.
My Eagles locals probably hate me for saying that, but just keeping it real.
What did you get to see the Ravens Chiefs game last night?
I fell asleep begrudgingly because I knew it was going to be a great finish because no defense could stop either offense. So I knew it was just going to be like, whoever had the ball last was going to win. And that's how it looks like it ended up. So it was a 35-34, I think.
It was a wild game. This was interesting. I think to me, I watched the game again as I was doing the work, but I think we learned. I think that in 2 weeks we've learned the Chiefs' defense. You can run against them all day long. Like they can't stop the run. If you show any sort of balance, you can move the ball and score points against them. Right? They've given up 30 plus the first 2 weeks. The Ravens. I mean, Lamar is a very special player. Like he's an excellent quarterback, but not in the traditional sense. Like he will miss guys that are open, and sometimes will miss the read. But at other times he does stuff that's just like he made a jump pass 30 yards down the field last night.
I saw that. Yeah,
that was incredible. Like it happened. I looked. My wife was still awake. I looked at my wife. I'm like, "Did you just see what he just did?" She's like, "What?" I'm like, "He jumped and did a jump pass, but it wasn't like a 5-yard pass. It was like 30 yards down the field. Like, you have to be so strong to do that." And
you almost have to take the good with the bad with him because he will do things that are so special, right? He did have 2 picks early on in the game where you're like, where the hell is he throwing that ball at? That was no guy near there. Like, what are you looking at? But then he makes plays that are, you're like, I've never seen anything like that. So, I mean, but with the Ravens, if you can stop the run a little bit, it really puts them in a predicament, right? Because they don't have an elite or even, I think, above average passing game, more of an average passing game, average wide receivers. But their defense is not as stout as they have looked in the past before either. So.
Yeah, their defense isn't as stout. And I think, the thing with them that's so hard is it's so hard to play man against them. Because you can't have guys turning away from the backfield and not having eyes on Lamar. Right? Because he's just gonna roll out and pick out 4 guys that on the defensive line and linebackers, and then he's just running for days. So he definitely presents a very interesting challenge for a defense, where it's almost locks you in some sort of zone or man zone scheme, just to keep eyes on him to prevent the big play at least. And he's got a cannon. It's
like the spy, spy scenario, right? Where where they had it with Vic and Cunningham and them kind of guys back in the day. Like you have to respect it because if you're running with your back to the ball as a defensive back, you're kind of just like in no man's land. With what do? He just takes off running and
exactly.
And he's such a special athlete. It's crazy. But he has a great arm, right? He has a great arm. There's no doubting that. It's just whether he's, like you said, making the right decisions. And then sometimes you're like, oof, what was that? And then other times you're like, oh, my God, what was that? Because it was so good. So they're an interesting team. And then within their division, Pittsburgh loses, right, to the Raiders after beating the Bills last week. So that made absolutely no sense at all. And then the Bills blow out Miami, right? So after losing to the Steelers. So nothing makes sense.
Well, I mean, I think we both thought the Bills, at least I felt the Bills would bounce back really hard this week because they looked terrible last week. Terrible.
I just didn't think a 35-0 shutout. I thought maybe a 17-14 because Miami's tough on defense. Like
well, and it's in the division, right? So it's a team that sees you all the time, right? So you should play at least somewhat tight, right?
Yeah.
The only time that in division places haven't played tight is Browns against Steelers the last up until about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
In which case we got blown out for about 15 years straight. But no, Yeah, that was surprising. It was surprising that in the degree to which it happened, not that it did happen. Um, all right, let's do picks for this week. See what's coming up here. So we'll do
Yeah.
NFL first, since I have that. Obviously, we record this on Mondays, so as you all know if you're watching this. So we didn't mention the Packers game because they're playing the Lions tonight, so it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
I think we both imagined. I think last week we both picked the Packers. I'm not changing that. I expect the Packers to still win.
Yeah.
It's the Lions. Like why this game's in prime time, I think is a good question to ask. All right, so Thursday game this week on NFL Network, which is always annoying because who the hell has NFL Network, is Carolina at Houston. I'm taking Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we think Carolina is looking pretty solid, and Christian McCaffrey's not hurt, and it's going into week 3, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Houston's working with nothing right now. So.
All right, Washington, the Washington football team at Buffalo. Give me Bills Nation.
Yeah, 100% there.
Chicago travels to Cleveland. Give me the Brownies.
First start for Fields probably next week. It looks like Dalton's out. So, yeah, I would lean towards the Browns just for that fact. Brand new quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough defense. Yeah.
Baltimore at Detroit. I don't know much about Detroit right now, but it's Detroit, so I'm going by prior history. And Lamar Jackson. Give me Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going upset there just because. Big letdown after last week. Yeah, big letdown. Look, this is the game that'll make no sense. They beat Kansas City, big win, and now they're going to go and lay an egg against Detroit. There's my upset pick of the week.
Yeah. Indianapolis at Tennessee. This could be a good game. Indianapolis, I think, is pretty strong. Tennessee, I think, is strong-ish. Man, I got Tennessee's at home. Give me Tennessee.
Yeah, so Colts have had the worst schedule, I think, in the league so far.
Yeah, I feel like they've gotten a bad break here because I think they're better than their record shows.
They lost to the Rams, right, by 3, and they lost to the Chargers. But Wentz came out of the game, hurt his ankle, didn't return. So I think that's a big factor in the game, but I'm still going Tennessee because they look like they found their correct game plan. And with Wentz kind of being on the bubble of playing or not, we don't know yet. Yeah, I'll go Tennessee.
Los Angeles at Kansas City. I can't imagine Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes losing 2 in a row, especially the second game being at home, or both games being at home. Give me Kansas City.
And this is the Rams, right?
This is the Chargers.
The Chargers, okay.
Yeah, this is the little lightning bolt.
Who also had a tough schedule. Played Dallas, played the Colts, and now they're playing Kansas City. But, yeah, I'll go Kansas City there. I don't see them losing 2 in a row.
All right, New Orleans at New England.
Oof. Which New Orleans team?
Exactly. Which New Orleans team shows up here is the question. Who's quarterbacking for New Orleans right now?
Jameis Winston.
Jameis, that's right.
And everybody anointed him the MVP last week.
So we have Jameis Winston against the Bill Belichick defense.
Yeah, and Mac Jones on offense. We look pretty good this week. I like the Patriots here.
I'm leaning Patriots, so I'm going to go Patriots, but I think it's fairly low scoring, like 17-22 or 21, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
like
that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Something like that. Okay, Atlanta against the New York Giants.
Oof. Toilet bowl.
Yeah, I was about to say, we went from all these good games that were like semi-interesting to this.
I'm going to say Atlanta gets off the no victory pile. Both teams are 0-2. So
who is even the favorite in this game?
I would say, where's it at? Is it in Atlanta?
It's in New York. The second team is always the home team.
I almost want to say it's still got to be Atlanta. I mean, the Giants they didn't look too bad this week against Washington, but
I'm going to say New York wins Saquon Barkley, either Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones has a big run, and that's enough.
Okay.
Like I think that'll be like the sort of thing that breaks the game.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm going Atlanta. I'm saying Matt Ryan over
Daniel Jones.
Danny Dimes. Yeah.
All right. Oh, we got a divisional matchup here. Cincinnati, the Bungles, against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Interesting matchup. I'll go Pittsburgh here. I think they bounce back this week.
Yeah, I feel similarly. In Pittsburgh, I can't imagine they play poorly at home 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's too good of a coach, as much as it pains me to admit that.
He's a good coach. Who did the Bengals? They lost to the Bears. With Fields.
Yeah. I don't exactly know what's going on with them. Arizona at Jacksonville. I got to go Arizona until Jacksonville shows me anything different.
Yeah, Arizona had a pretty risky win this week. They pulled it out, but yeah, I like them. I mean, Jacksonville is not that good. So, and Kyler Murray had some more phenomenal plays this week.
Does Urban Meyer make it to the end of the season?
No. I've already heard rumors that he's looking at the USC job. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I don't think he does either.
No. I don't think it happens.
The New York Jets are at your Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So we got altitude, we got travel, and it's the Jets, and I will pretty much always pick against the Jets. So Denver Broncos.
Yeah, as much as it looks like an upset trap game, 4 picks and 4 completions in a game against now this week, Denver defense, who has looked strong against weak teams. So we're playing another garbage team. So I still don't know if we're any good or not after we win this week. So we'll be 3. I look at it this way: the Colts could be 0-3, right, and have played 3 of the best teams in the league, and the Denver Broncos could be 3-0, playing the Jets, the Giants, and the Jaguars.
I was supposed to say the Broncos are having the opposite schedule of the Indianapolis Colts and the Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah. It seems like.
And that's what happens when you stink, right? The year before, you get a little easier schedule. But eventually, though, they're going to have to play. Their division looks tough this year, right? Kansas City, Chargers, Raiders.
Yeah, they'll have to play.
Yeah, and then they're playing the NFC East, who it's like, you never know. But yeah, I'm going Broncos. Got to stay with them. They're undefeated.
Yeah. Miami Dolphins travel out to Las Vegas to play the Raiders, who are coming off that win. Miami's coming off of getting stomped by the Bills.
Yeah. 2 is out. He got hurt.
Did he?
I'm going Raiders there.
Yeah, I think I like the Raiders here as well. Miami is another one of those teams. Miami is is very much – I feel like they've been this way the last couple of years. I mean, really the last decade, where I never quite know which Miami team's going to show up. Right? Sometimes they go out and they'll beat some team that you do not expect them to beat. They'll go out and beat New England in New England, and then they'll lose to some scum team, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, so I think this being on the road, I see them losing again to Vegas. Ooh, a good game here. This is this will probably be the national Fox game, the late afternoon Fox game. Tampa Bay travels to Los Angeles against the Rams. It's a good one.
I like that. I'm going to say Tom gets his first loss. I really think the Rams are really good. So we'll go with I'm going to go with the Rams. Get the travel factor in there too. He's got to lose one game this year. So
he does. I don't think it's this one. I think it's – sorry, my phone's going off. I think right. Tampa Bay gets the W here. I think it's a shootout, but they pull it out. I'm kind of feeling I'm not going to pick against Tampa Bay until they actually lose. Approach.
And my main reason too is I think the Rams secondary is exponentially better than Tampa Bay's secondary, but we'll see.
That makes sense.
And it could be a shootout. Yeah.
Seattle travels to Minnesota. So Seattle's coming off that late loss to the Titans and Minnesota lost. I think they missed a field goal against the Cardinals.
To the Cardinals, yes, they lost.
Yeah, it was a chip shot
same
field
thing.
goal. The guy just missed.
Yeah. Late game, late win. One of the similar scenarios in both games. But and I thought Minnesota played tough against Arizona team, who I think is going to be a playoff team. I think they're pretty good. But I'll go Seattle here. I just like Russell Wilson too much. So Cook was a little banged up at the end of the game. He got his ankle rolled up on, so that's going to factor in too. So I'll go Seattle there.
All right. So here's my upset special. There's always one each week, and I think this is it. I think Seattle's a better team than Minnesota, and they should win, and they probably will win. And yet, I feel like Minnesota, they've lost their first two games by a total of 4 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now granted, the first one was to the Bengals, who I'm not sure how good they are. I don't think they're great. But, I agree this past weekend they played a tougher team, put them close. I think, at home, I think they pull this out. I think this is a big game for them because I think if they lose this game and start 0-3 and, having lost the first two by 4 points, I think that could be, send them down. That sets the tone for the season. I think it'll be downhill from there for them if they lose this game. So I think they'll probably know that, and I think they come out firing, manage to pull out the win here.
0-3 is almost like a death sentence,
Yeah. I mean, a little bit less so with the 17-game season, but I think
for
just setting the tone for like how the team. I mean, we've all watched teams that have basically given up on the season by like week 5. I've watched Browns teams that stunk, where you could tell. The late game next week on Sunday night is Green Bay at San Francisco. That could be good. It's hard to tell since we haven't seen Green Bay a second time yet, but give me. It's a national primetime game, and it's Aaron Rodgers in primetime. How good is San Francisco? All right, you make your pick. I don't know how good San Francisco is.
I like San Fran. I think their defense is tough. I think they got good balance on offense. I'll go San Fran until Green Bay shows me something other than what they did last week.
All right, I'm going Green Bay because San Fran has beaten the Lions and gave up 33 points to the Lions, and then they beat the Eagles, who I think might stink. So I'm gonna go Green Bay. It's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers in prime time.
It really is.
In our Monday night matchup next week, which we'll not have the result of, but we like to pick a week ahead of time anyway, we have an NFC least matchup between Philadelphia and Dallas in Dallas.
I think Dallas.
Give me Dallas.
Yeah, I think Dallas wins big, actually. And there's going to be a lot of angry Eagles fans in my area. Not happy. I just think Dallas is much better on offense. Defense isn't too good, but I don't think the Eagles have much on offense right now that's making sense against a good team. But they might score a little bit because Dallas's defense is not very good. But, again, we'll see. It's a rivalry game, so you never know. Could go either way.
Sounds good. I'm looking at the college slate right now. It doesn't look like we have too many top 25 matchups. There is the only one that's – all right, so we've got like maybe 2. So let's see here. We have Notre Dame at number 12. I think number 12. I think these are current rankings. So Notre Dame versus Wisconsin. This is happening in Chicago, Illinois at Soldier Field. So Notre Dame, Wisconsin.
So interesting note to that game. Wisconsin's quarterback last year is now Notre Dame's quarterback. So I did not know that. Very interesting dynamic there. That said, I don't think Notre Dame's that good.
Yeah, I was going to pick Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin wins the game. Who lost to Penn State early, right? And, not a bad loss. So I think Wisconsin's a good team. I think, Notre Dame struggled with Florida State, who lost to a Sub Bowl division team. I don't know. I think Notre Dame loses there. But there's a little incentive for the quarterback, being it's against his old school.
Yeah, for sure. I think Notre Dame is typically slightly overrated, especially early in the season with regards to rankings. And Wisconsin tends to always have one loss on their record that is close and that arguably they shouldn't lose, potentially this Penn State game. And then they tend to sort of win every other game. Maybe they'll have a second one of those types of losses, but I don't think this is that second one. The other top 25 game, it looks like, is number 7 Texas A&M against number 16 Arkansas. And this is happening in AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. So another kind of semi-neutral site, not completely neutral site, semi-neutral site. Man, I haven't watched either of these teams.
I've only seen highlights, but I'll go on location. It's in Texas. I'll go Texas A&M.
That's what I was going to do. Yeah, I'll go with Texas A&M as well for the same reason. And I think that is it. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other top 25 games. So it's not a huge weekend in college football. It does not appear to be. Kenny, anything planned for you for this week that's out of the ordinary?
Nah, hopefully it's a lot more calm this week. We have jiu-jitsu tonight with the youngin', and if the weather's cooler now, I'm starting to sit outside, bonfire, watch football. So I'm getting in my fall groove here.
There you go. There you go. Obviously, if you are interested in coaching nutrition or you need help with Olympic lifting, check the links below. Kenny's got some Olympic lifting product where he can help you out with that. And obviously, we offer coaching for both training and nutrition. Check those links below. You can follow us on Instagram. Links also below. And we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Peace.